what I think would be a good topic that we should bring up is that selling your book, it's kind of in today's world is selling yourself.
True.
Yeah.
Is we don't really live in a world where publishers are really accessible. So I guess the way you could put it,
Not-
like I don't
not
know.
They also don't offer the same value
Yeah.
that a publisher used to. They used to offer a very specific type of value that only a publisher at the time could easily offer, and now that value they offer is very diminished, and they require more of you than I believe they ever have before. Brian, I don't know if you've ever queried your book, but that's definitely something that
My
people talk about.
nonfiction I have, and they want like, who are you? Like, oh, here's who I am. Here's my credentials. Here's why I'm awesome. They're like, oh, but who are you? It's like, I just told you my entire technical background and all my certifications, all my accolades. Yeah, but like, who are you? I'm
Like, do you get sunburned easily? Like, how easily do you get sunburned?
I know what they were asking, and like, if I laid out, yeah, I'm a straight Christian male. Like, okay, next, please.
Can you talk to a room full of purple-haired lesbian readers?
I have and I can, but I am not one of them. So
I can't guarantee they'll like what I have to say, but I can talk to anyone.
What does this picture of Channing Tatum do to you? Huh?
Makes you want to work out.
I'm like,
When he's younger, makes me feel insecure. When he's older, I feel better now.
Having met him in person, I know he is short. So.
I've heard that. They always make him
Channing
look
Tatum?
like yeah.
He's
Like
like
5'9" or 5'8" or something.
well, what if a
yeah.
Coppin's like 6'8" and he's like, he's short? It's like, oh, he's short for you.
Well, it's like a friend. It's
Let's verify. It says he's 6'1".
that can't be true.
That's the movie height. You got to take away 3 inches.
Yeah.
On every measurement.
Either way, if
I
you have your
am
book-
taller than 6'1" though, so I guess that tracks. I guess.
Oh, you're a big boy. You're bigger than me.
Everybody's
I'm not that
shorter
tall.
than
I'm
me.
not
is
that
5'10",
tall,
I don't know.
See, to me, like Mark Wahlberg is surprisingly short because he looks huge in the movies. And he's like, no, me, I'm only 5'8". You thought I was taller than that? No, I'm slipping.
Why are you so good at that impression?
Just looking for an excuse to that impression. We have a topic we're talking about.
No, wait. Last one. Justin, say we gotta start caring about science. Say that.
You gotta start caring about science.
Oh my! It's perfect.
It's really good. Holy crap.
You should do like an audiobook of Mark Wahlberg
Pause.
reading
Pause.
the-
Bat Sauce is right. There is a topic. Was it freedom? I don't remember. Go ahead. Books. Books and what?
Yeah, it's about selling yourself, right? Essentially, you got to sell yourself before you sell your book. Because what are the traditional ways to sell something, right? Like, usually the preferred honest way would be to have a publisher that does that stuff for you, because we just want to write our books. We just want to write our stories. That's what our hobby, what's fun to us. That's what we want to do. Like, I like coming up here, which is a plus, but if you don't have an avenue like that, or you don't have a buttload of money to play that gambling game that is like the Amazon advertising game, what else? What other thing do you have to do? Is the book cover going to sell alone? Probably not. So you have to go out and talk to people, whether it's online, in person, or something like that. And you gotta be making connections in some way, shape, or form with these people, like, or else, like, I don't know, if you can't sell yourself, it's just not going to sell the product that comes along with it.
Well, even with the product that's complicated, because you have to make sure that every version of the book, the ebook, the physical book, and the audiobook, each one is optimized to sell, because a cover that looks good in person may not look good on a tiny thumbnail this big on your computer. It all has to be considered.
Yeah, true. Or you could be like me and you just look good in any way, shape, or form.
Well, well, we're gonna move on from lies and okay.
I think one thing
that's kind of gay.
I've been flipping through the Dunce Whisperer, so I'm not very far. I think I finished the first chapter.
Oh, tell me more. Tell me more.
But on the back of it, you can probably I don't have it offhand, so I can't read it. I'm underprepared. But maybe you have a copy nearby. It's supposed to be a joke, but it's like, this is the greatest book you will ever read in your life. The only problem you're going to have is every other book's going to seem terrible by comparison once you finish this. And even though it's supposed to be sort of silly, you should be pitching your own book that way. Like, you need to get people hyped up about it. And if you don't believe it's one of the best books ever written, why would I check it out? You know, I understand there's a level where you can't be inauthentic, but you have to have that kind of passion in your delivery with your product.
Jersey.
Joke? Oh, you mentioned that's a joke? No, on the back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say joke? That's not what I misspoke. I meant to say.
Essentially, like, I basically wrote that, and I spent two lines describing what the book was, but the rest of it is just me gloating about myself.
Yeah, but you have to have that coming across. Like, if you go and you're trying to sell a book on a stream or something, you're like, okay, here's my book, and it's about that. Like, you're probably going to lose people because we lose interest quickly. You have to kind of ramp up your personality, or if you're a quiet person, you got to figure out a way to break out of that shell whenever you're trying to market something. You know, you got to.
I am naturally shy.
Are you really?
No.
I imagine you walking around with a backpack that has your voice changer in it and the microphone always in front, and you're just at the grocery store and like pressing the buttons.
People at the gym do look at me funny, but I am wearing a gym bag as a backpack, so you know.
Why?
Sorry.
Because it's weight, and I forgot to bring a lock, and it's more weight. Why not walk with weight?
I thought you were doing like bench pressing with a gym bag on your back or something. I'm like, how does that work out?
I haven't done bench press since 2013. And I haven't done it since then, so I have no idea where it's at.
The muscle heads, like, is this guy onto something? Should we get you going tomorrow? And they're all wearing the bags. Like, you start this trend. Had no idea.
So talk about like my first book, Dawn Edge. With my experience with that, right? Since coming into the Iron Age, and I did no campaign for that, basically zero advertising from it, right? So basically what people have to go off of is the cover and the back of the book. And I've heard from people, whether it's true or not, that what I've written on the back of the book has interest them, and it is a type of something, what they would be interested in reading. Whether that's true or not, up in the air, but that hasn't sold like Jack Diddley squat. What did start selling it is when I started joking about it being the best book to edge at dawn.
Started talking about edging in it. Let me tell you, the boys they bought in. They were all in after that.
Sadly, it's not a comedy. It's a grimdark. So like, the comedy doesn't really match with the book. So hopefully
you have to have a gimmick or a little saying. Like Herman's thing for like the short term. Like he can sell his book. This is not to take away by my book. He's known for that on the internet. Yep. The Lord Otter, it's athletic tits. He didn't want it, but it happened.
It happened.
It's turned into a very good marketing tool. And like for me, it's weird because I feel like I sell my personality, but I don't have anything to sell. So it's years of academy training wasted. But you know,
the closest thing I got is in RK, even legends are doomed to die. But yeah, you guys are totally right. You got to come out there with charisma on other shows and have like a defined idea and sell yourself. You know what I mean? Because like you said, Bats, even taking advantage of things that just happen to be there. Like I was on that High Desert show or whatever the other day, and they're known for like really criticizing comics, and like once we were like friends and chilling and stuff, like they pointed out that my campaign ends on September 10th, and I was like, well, I should capitalize on that. Flying ship, Vikings.
Yeah, because the election, right?
Something. Or 9/11, whichever.
Oh, 9/11, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The election too. I could. Oh my goodness, the election, and there's a jarl and a king. Okay, yeah. So stuff like that. You're onto something here. Like, don't be afraid to just joke around with your own stuff, but then, like what Justin said, actually believe in yourself. You know what I mean?
We've discussed before. There's the easiest way to win somebody over is getting them to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's like I resort to comedy first, and it's a lot easier even with a grimdark sci-fi book. But it's a lot harder to relate to, connect to somebody, to pull them in without using comedy, essentially.
Well, I do think there's kind of two sides to this idea, because there are people who have built up their online personality first and then they wrote a book to sell it. We all know of YouTubers who did that. Some of them were actually writers and were decent, but others were not up to snuff, so to say.
Daniel Green.
His is at least readable. There are others way worse than that.
No, I
understand.
They're getting better. I'll say that. But Brian, what about you? What about your experience with this? So, I've seen a lot of pictures of you going to conventions and stuff.
Yeah, I saw probably more in person. A lot of word of mouth. You meet people you don't expect. Like for my Paladin books, I think my target audience has changed based on who I've met and who's enjoyed the books. It's helped me to market better to that. What's interesting too is we talked about selling yourself and what doesn't sell. My best-selling book I've never advertised ever. I don't know what, and it's funny. It's no matter how good my Paladin books do or my other books do, this one book every month, the last week, will somehow find a way to beat the rest. My wife and I joke about it. Oh, the Helldesk book. Look, it just sold a bunch. Now it's the bestseller again. So I've never had a month where it wasn't the bestseller among my books.
Wow.
And I don't advertise it. I don't really talk about it. It's just some random people in India and Australia and China will buy a bunch. I have no idea who they are. I never met them. Don't advertise it. So.
Now, is that book, though, is it fiction?
Nonfiction.
Okay, so there might be something there, too. It's like some of the best sellers out there are like self-help books and things along those lines. So it's not exactly that, but it's trying to help you to be better at your job. So kind of. So there might be something there. Yeah,
it's gotten me a lot of work, because they're like, "Oh, you wrote this book, very impressive," and I could tell they haven't read the book. I don't care. They just like that I wrote. They like that I wrote the book.
Sure,
but like I turn around and I'm like, man, who in Spain is reading this? Is there an English speaker in there? Like, who's reading this book?
It has to make some recommendation list or something like that.
It's got it. Like I have no idea. I've never been wanted to push that book hard because I just use it to get work. It's not for me. I don't want to make money off it, but it keeps sneaking in there. And it's funny to watch. I'll see some page reads show up one day, 12 page reads, and then I'll see a sale. Like people read the first chapter and then buy the book. I'm like that's a weird pattern I've noticed over and over and over again. So
I'm curious too, because the Dunce Whisperer, it's essentially allegory for my time during Help Desk. So I'm curious if any of your stories in your book match up with the stories.
It's probably the same stories. It's probably the exact same idiots. So it's interesting. On that book, I actually interviewed, you guys have heard of Joshua Lysek, the ghostwriter. He actually looked at my book, gave me some recommendations. And he's like, man, there's not much I can do to improve upon this. Great job. So that kind of gave me some motivation when he did that review. Because he's like, everything's about the hook. And my hook is, it's Hell Desk to Help Desk, salvation for your IT support. And I have a list of IT demons and the IT saints and the 7 levels of IT hell. And I break it all down. So he said, that's the way to write a story. Is you blend quasi fiction into factual scenarios. You retell a story that actually happened and protect the names and, have some collaboration of characters into one person. Like the Right Now Rita, the person always wants it done right now. So that's one of the IT demons that I've combined multiple people with my history into it. Or the Sloppy Steve, which is the IT guy with the Cheetos hanging out of his mouth and he's got the stains on it. So I make all these IT demons, and I think people kind of relate to that.
Maybe I should change mine from a fantasy. Say it's a self-help book.
You should. It wouldn't hurt to market it.
Yeah. But
we'll see. You and I give a TED Talk someday.
Yeah. But with you meeting people in person, right? Which still kind of feels like maybe the easiest thing to do right now. I don't know. Maybe online. But yeah, I always say, reading a book or asking somebody to read a book, it's really one of the biggest investments you can ask for somebody, because you're asking for time and a lot of time at that. So if they're gonna read your book, they're gonna invest that time in you. You gotta sell yourself. You have to make them trust and believe in you. Otherwise, what's the point of wasting this? 20 hours, you're going to take to read something?
Yep. And not just that too, but there are so many choices. You could be reading so many other books. So, okay, I kind of like you, but oh, all right, why do I want your book? So not only do you have to sell,
I thought you were going to say, but only as a friend.
Not only have to sell yourself as like, hey, I'm cool, you like me, like I'm a normal guy, you can tell that I probably care about this book and I did a good job, I'm passionate about it, I'm into it, but then you also need to make a case why your story is something I should get into, and why is it better than this guy's story? He's cool too. I see him making the rounds as well, you know, and all that. So you need, and he's passionate about his project. So you now have to win me over on another front too. And I think whenever you have like that trifecta, along with just making the rounds, whether it be going on to shows on YouTube, and then the cons, I keep hearing more and more about the cons and them being successful.
Yeah, you have to trick them
and coming back. So I think hitting things from all angles is the proper approach here. As is the case,
because that's a tricky thing too. Because there are books by people who I would not like, but the books themselves are very, very good. And then I've had a couple people who I do like, and hasn't always worked out. There's been a couple stinkers, and I don't out who they are just because they're indie, and But
you gotta have a good product too. Yeah.
I saw a few polls that said the number one reason people back a project is because they like the person.
Oh yeah,
that's a huge proponent.
I think number two is the art. So
yeah, we're in this special case, right, where we are creators and we're trying to support and also maybe create content or even just research purposes to look at other people's stuff. So we're like. It is interesting because we're just not the average reader in any sense. I imagine no reader is going to pick up somebody's book to be like, well, let me see how I can maybe use this to change my writing or something like that. They're just going to be like, all right, which book is going to maximize my enjoyment?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So if you can, convince a person that this book is going to maximize their enjoyment, there you go. You can probably sell the book.
Yeah,
but how do you do that, right?
And this is why we see a lot of the more gimmicky stuff succeed. Like more recently, there's like Smokes the Fox, right? He's I have Justin Belmont coming on the Pritchard Pub this week, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
His campaign succeeded. It's just a dope smoking fox. What else do you need? He takes on the government. Let's go. You know what I mean? So you just fill that with conspiracy theory fun and just have at it. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think I saw some aliens in there. And then there's also like Justin, you just showed us pistol shrimp. Boom,
pistol shrimp.
And then Kahuna, you showed me one that was like cockfighting. Basically, it's like demon chickens fighting.
Phrase that differently.
No, that's what it's called. Cockfighting.
No. It's like when you show up to the cockfight and everybody else has a rooster.
Yeah.
I trained for a very different kind of event.
But you know what I'm saying? Like the gimmicks, the Little Merc made.
I was gonna mention that. Like we're in an era where a gimmick or a meme book can sell if you market it.
Oh
right.
yeah. Smokes did really well. I mean, their goal, they had $100 was the goal, and they raised over $11,000.
That's what I'm saying.
So
what was the book?
Smokes the Fox.
Smoking the Fox.
Yeah, we covered it on Comic Shop Wednesday a couple of times. It's been a while since it's popped up, but it won the night that we had it on because it was just. Again, just looked like fun. It just looked like silly good fun.
It won because Trippy was on the panel. He just
threw his paycheck at it. Yeah.
But like Pistol Shrimp, it's gimmicky, but I enjoyed it.
Well, like that's what people are looking for. They can trust a gimmick, right? Because the gimmick is kind of like saying a well thought out idea. So that just puts the onus on us as creators to come up with even more well thought out ideas. As Herman P. Hunter said earlier,
you guys want to talk about a gimmick? Look at this freaking cover variant I got for Cyberfrog.
Let me see.
Cyberfrog cover.
I'm surprised you can do
there
that.
You go.
I guess what's he gonna do? Sue you? Probably not. But
it's a public figure.
It's a public photo. Someone sold millions of T-shirts with pretty much this exact image.
Yeah. Well done.
Well, I will say though, like when we're talking about comics again, it's a different market kind of. right? And it's like you're not asking for the same type of investment. I haven't had a comic that
that's true.
I read that didn't take me longer than like an hour to finish.
And a book is free software if you want. If you already have the investment, it's still free, right? Because that means you've already paid for the software. So either way, it's like very low cost to write a book. Right?
And you have more than just a book cover to sell it. You got a multitude of art to sell it. So
well, that's kind of the advantage of going pulp, like doing something more pulp-like, because you can show off multiple images from the book, so long as they're not too spoilery. And
Herman,
like offers more art.
Sorry. You go ahead. Herman, you said you had Justin on Drawn and Quartered. Hey, I'd like to go on there. Just a side note. If you want to drop it by the boys, run it by me, or run it by them and get back to me.
It's a cool show. I still need to watch a show where they did your book, Herman, recently too. I missed that show, so I want to watch it back.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Hey. You just watched a clip from the Iron Seas podcast. Make sure to like this, subscribe. It helps us out a little bit. And please catch the show live at 9:30 Eastern every Tuesday.